Steps are a configuration where you can set a list of steps for each time you push a button. So press the button once, your taxi lights come on. Press that same button again, your landing lights, and so on and so forth. A sequence is where you press a button once and the list of commands completes. Press it once, the landing lights, taxi lights, beacon lights, they all come on at the same time. Keep in mind the lights are just an example. You can make this for whatever you want. But what if you take steps and sequences and combine them? So each time you press the button, a new list of sequence executes. Stick around.
One app designed to do it all. Hangar Control brings everything together. Control bindings, hardware configuration, mod and profile management, application launching, add-ons, config files, and more, all managed from a single application. Mods Hangar goes beyond just mods and add-ons. It manages profiles, config files, text files, backups, snapshots, and helps keep your community folders clean and organized. Application Hangar launches your entire SIM stack with a single click. Your Stream Decks are fully controlled through the Hangar Control plugin, while all of your other Stream Deck plugins remain active and available. Built by a simmer for simmers, Hangar Control adds new features and hardware support every week based on community feedback. It's a one-time purchase with lifetime updates, no subscriptions. You can try it for free for 5 days with no restrictions at overkillsimulations.com. Just create an account, head to your account page, download the latest version, and get started. And if you're looking for in-depth Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft tutorials, check out my Patreon site. Links to Hangar Control and Patreon are down in the description below.
Okay, folks, so first up, again, if you guys are interested in trying Hangar Control out after this video or during this video, simply go to overkillsimulations.com. Be sure to create your account first. So go to the login button, and if you're new to the website, create an account, register, and then sign into the account. If you're wanting to purchase it, simply go through the purchase process. If you're wanting to download the 5-day free trial, simply go to the red account button, and there should be an option there to download Hangar Control. You do get the latest and greatest version, and it is completely unrestricted trial. So whatever the software can do, you have access to. That way you can test out any features that are specific to you. Also comes with very thorough documentation. Keep in mind that Hangar Control is designed to handle all of your control bindings, does touch panels, Stream Deck integration. It also controls all of your applications, launching them in sequence based on profile, remembers the window position, and of course handles all of your mods, tools, and add-ons, and has a bunch more different things in the tools section, even a snapshot configuration or a snapshot manager that will save all of your configurations as is, and it goes far beyond just your simulators. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of today's video. So what's the purpose of today's video? Well, one of the things that we handle with steps, as I mentioned in the intro, and sequences, is the whole idea behind it is to help you save buttons, right? Maybe save buttons or just save time, especially handling those pesky little things that you don't want to deal with. Okay, so the idea here is if you want to use steps, right now you have to bind a single button to your steps. If you want to bind sequences, you have to bind a button to your sequences. But somebody had brought up the idea to me of what if you could combine the two, okay? And that's what we're going to show here today. So a real quick demo, we want to make sure we start our service. We have a Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 profile. If we go into edit, we can see Microsoft Flight Simulator is set as the simulator type, which is a requirement for this piece to work. Keep in mind this also supports X-Plane 11 and 12 as well as DCS World. DCS World is in constant expansion due to the nature of the way DCS World is written, but for the most part, we cover, I would say, about 95% of the functionality. So, getting it back over here, we're going to go to our Moza. That's what I'm going to use as my example today, and I'm going to find an empty button. Oh, I'm firing something and I didn't even realize it. There we go. We'll use 17. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to come down here where it says Step Cycle Through Actions. And this is where it gets fun. So this is our primary step window. So you're going to add each individual line. And again, how this would normally work is for each entry, every time you push the button, the first line will execute, second line, so on and so forth. When you get down to the bottom, it will recycle back to the top. Okay, now what you also can do is you are able to reset and step the toggle index when this action fires. So meaning that, there you go right there. When checked, firing this press type will reset the step cycle counter back to the beginning. So this is useful for rotary switches where a long press off should restart the short press cycle. Okay, so it's things like that. If you need it to basically if you need it to reset immediately after a press, that's when you would do that. Okay, so let's get through this. You always need to have your primary command, and then the additional commands follow. So we're going to start with the beacon and the nav light, right? The way that you want to think about a lot of this stuff is the flow, right? A procedural configuration, right? You want things to happen at certain stages. You want to make sure that you build that flow as it walks its way through. Okay, so in our case, we're going to go through the lights, everything from startup through the flight, back down to landing, back down to shutdown. Okay, so obviously we've stepped into the aircraft, we've added electrical power. What are we going to want? We're going to want our beacon lights and our nav lights. So add the beacon lights as the primary, and then we can add an additional. And that's going to be our, if you just do nav underscore, they'll come right up, nav lights. And we're going to hit OK. And if you need to remove an entry from the additional actions, simply hit the X and you're good to go. So hit OK, and then when we hit save, for example, the binding will save, and you get your primary action and then the additional action indicated by the plus sign, and those will show up in the sequence in which they are added. Okay, so let's come back in here. We're going to add another step. All right, so first we've done our beacon. Now we're ready for taxi. Now taxi light's probably going to be the only thing that we're going to want at the time we're ready to actually start rolling towards the runway. So that's going to be by itself. Nope. Toggle. There we go. So there we go. And then next, when we hit the runway, what are we going to want? We're going to want our landing lights and our strobe lights, right? So again, it doesn't really matter which one you pick here as your primary because we need them both. So we're going to go strobes toggle, and we're going to go to add, browse, and we want our landing lights. Landing lights toggle. And you also have the ability, of course, to edit them. You can add a delay if you need. So if you need 20 seconds between the primary command and the secondary command, you can add that here. You can also, if you have multiple lists, you can resequence them with the up-down button by simply highlighting it as this one here. And then you can do that. And of course, there's, if you need to remove the entry, there's that option there as well. So we're going to hit OK. All right, so we got our landing lights and strobe lights. So now we've cleared 1,000 feet-ish. We're through the takeoff, right? So we're going to want those taxi lights and landing lights turned off. So again, we're going to toggle that one. And this one, our add, is going to be the taxi lights. So that shuts our wing lights off for the landing lights and our nose wheel light off. Obviously, we'd probably want that right about after takeoff, but, you know, no plan is perfect. This is a demo anyway, right? So now we're just flying around and we have our beacon lights on, we have our nav lights on, we have our strobe lights on. So we've flown around Tucson here, and we've just been sort of doing a pattern here, throwing water balloons out the window, seeing if we can catch, you know, somebody on the sidewalk. You know, yes, I am that kind of person. But so now we're ready to come back in. Well, so we're going to need that landing lights and taxi lights turned back on. So we're going to add a step and browse. And again, this makes it real easy. Doesn't matter what order. It remembers your previous selection. So we're going to go add again. And this time the landing lights. Get those lights turned back on. Okay, now we've landed. Okay, we're ready to turn off to the run or off of the runway onto the ramp. And so we need to get that strobe light and landing light shut back off. So again, landing lights stay on the toggle there, but we also need to shut the strobe lights off this time. So there's that. Hit OK, hit OK. And then finally, we've come in to park it. Again, taxi light's going to go off by itself. So we're just going to browse. So we've shut the taxi lights off. Boom. And then our final step will be to shut those last two lights off, which are going to be our beacon lights. Whoa, not bacon. Well, bacon's always good too, right? Who doesn't like bacon? browse, and we're going to shut off those nav lights. Truth be told, I like bacon, but it's not like I don't go out of my way for it. I'm more of a sausage guy myself. Have fun with that one, comments. Anyway, hit OK, and hit OK, and OK, and boom. So now when we save, we go back in. Here is our sequence as we have designed it, right? So again, running through startup, we have our beacon lights and our nav lights. We're taxiing to the runway, turn those taxi lights on. We've hit the runway. We want our strobe lights and our landing lights. We're flying around. We're passing 1,000 feet. Shut those landing lights and taxi lights off. Coming back in for a landing. Landing lights and taxi lights back on. Coming off the runway, landing lights and strobe lights turned off. Parked it, taxi lights off, and our final 2 lights. So now let's see it in action. So I'm going to get that out of the way for a minute. And here we go. We're just going to watch the switches here. So on first impression, we've set into the cockpit. Boom. There's our 2 lights on. We've done all of our run-ups, startups, etc. So now we're ready to get rolling on down the runway or to the runway. Get that taxi light turned on. We've reached the runway now. We're lined up. We're ready to roll. Landing lights, strobe lights come on. All right. We're flying around. We've passed through 1,000 feet. Let's get those taxi lights and landing lights shut back off. Coming back in for our approach after doing our water balloon bombs, and we are turning those landing taxi lights back on. Okay, coming back off the runway now, we want those landing lights and strobe lights turned off, and we've parked the airplane now. Let's get that taxi light off so we don't blind anyone walking up to the trash can to throw away their monsters. That's going to be me too. And finally, we're ready to exit the aircraft and shut it down, so power off on the rest of the lights. And then now, it would take us back to the top. So boom, 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 boom. It's like a musical, and off again. Okay? So that is the advantage of now combining steps with sequences. So you can still do steps by themselves, as you guys saw. We can do a sequence by themselves. You don't have to go through the step process, but having the step option there now just further enhances your ability to take a single button and truly make it into something just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you can, with this particular, if you set it up correctly and you don't have any kind of weird or unfavorable situations that cause you to break that sequence or break that flow, you can really get down and dirty with this one. So anyways, guys, that's a real quick short video. I just wanted to show you this new feature that's coming out in the next release. I hope you guys are excited for this. I hope it gives you some cool ideas on how to start changing things up, especially if you're limited on controls. But even if you're not and you just want to simplify certain steps, this is a fantastic way to do that. So as always, folks, stay safe and healthy, and I shall see you in the next one.